Welcome. We all want to be reasonable, open-minded Christians, and that's why it's imperative that we truly understand how a Muslim person thinks differently than we do. Our guest today is Walid Shoebat, who is a former Muslim and is here to enlighten us about the Muslim mindset. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, you know, you are uniquely qualified, Walid, to talk about the Muslim mindset. Can you just give our viewers who don't know you a little overview of your background?
I was born in the Middle East, born in Israel, in Bethlehem, and my mother was prevented from leaving the Middle East, so I grew up. She's an American. She did not understand when her pastor told her, do not be unequally yoked. But she figured out 35 years in captivity, not being allowed to go back to her country, what it's like to be unequally yoked, especially being married to a Muslim male and being in a Muslim family. So I grew up understanding both mindsets, my mother's mindset as well as the Middle Eastern mindset. So came to the States and later on became Christian in 1993. I became an advocate to defend the United States as well as the State of Israel. So in other words, when I became Christian is when the process of my assimilation truly began. Prior to that, from 78 to 93, I was a Muslim fundamentalist. I was, you know...
So you were a radicalized Muslim, or
yeah,
would you say that, that's an oxymoron, that being a Muslim is being radical?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, people say, oh, you didn't pray 5 times a day, but you're still radical. It doesn't mean that you don't pray 5 times a day.
Right.
Or you don't, sometimes you miss fasting Ramadan, that you're not radical, because any day you can push that button and you'll see a radical Muslim. It's not a problem. I joined the Muslim Brotherhood in Chicago. The activism in the United States it was immense and tremendous between the 70s and the 80s and until
Chicago,
2000.
you were actually recruited in Chicago. Is that
right?
Yeah, right.
Jamal Saeed was the recruiter recruiting for the Muslim Brotherhood. Jamal Saeed was he's a good friend of Abdullah Azzam. He was the godfather of Al-Qaeda. Most Americans think when it comes to Al-Qaeda is that Osama bin Laden was the chief in charge, was the guy and founded it, but that's not true.
Right.
It's a Palestinian from Jenin. So Palestinians were very much involved in the Muslim Brotherhood movement.
Now you're doing something that's very controversial right now. You're actually reporting and have kind of highlighted the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's chief of staff or aide, Huma Abedin. Is that right?
That's correct.
You want to tell us why are you picking on this beautiful, intelligent Muslim woman who's assistant to our Secretary of State?
You see, I mean, when you ask the question, why are you picking on a beautiful, intelligent, see, that's the American mindset.
Right.
And from the Middle East or from an Islamic mindset, I see things quite differently. And most Middle Easterners see things quite differently. When you see Huma Abedin being married to a Jewish male congressman, you would think, oh wow, she's
open-minded.
Open-minded. She's assimilating in our society.
She's Western.
But that's a cause for alarm from the Middle East. It's impossible to have a Muslim girl marrying a Jewish man. I mean, it's just absolutely impossible without huge condemnation. Or not even that, it's worse, it's execution from the family.
So she would be, if under normal circumstances, what would happen to her?
Oh, she'd be killed by the family. By her brother Hassan Abedin should be killing her. I mean, it's no question about it. Right. So now, what you see, in a way, we see, this is, you see, well, she married a Jewish man. For sure, she's moderate and we see totally the opposite. She married a Jewish man, something is fishy, something is wrong. So
what is it that you're alleging here about her?
Well, I mean, it's more than alleging. The question began when Congresswoman Bachmann began to talk about, write 16-page letter requesting answers about the infiltration of Muslim Brotherhood affiliates in our system. And she got attacked instantly by Senator McCain and, you name it.
Yeah, a lot of people came out against her.
Yeah, so I saw the chicken pecking. Everybody who wanted to kind of show themselves off began to attack Bachmann. CNN began to attack Bachmann. So I began to relate to what happened to Bachmann because it happened to me. I was attacked. I was called a fraud. Well, these days they're not thinking that I'm a fraud at all because it's proven day by day that the people who accuse us or accuse Bachman are the ones who are wrong. Bachman is owed an apology.
Yeah.
There's tremendous amount of evidence for the Abedin family as a unit. It's not just Huma Abedin, but the entire family is a unit.
So what is some of the evidence? I mean, just the fact that her parents are Muslim and she was raised in the Middle East, is that enough to indict someone, to make them suspect?
No, it's not. But the facts are. And it's tremendous. I wrote, I think it was a 37-page dossier of monuments of evidence, mountains of evidence that comes from the Muslim Brotherhood itself, the sources, United Nations reports that I've accessed from Great Britain, proving beyond shadow of a doubt that the Abedin family were in bed with the Muslim Brotherhood. In fact, we were wrong when we stated that Huma Abedin's mother was a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, sisterhood affiliate organization. She is a leader in the Muslim Brotherhood.
So she is currently a leader?
A leader, absolutely. She runs the an organization called IICWC, the International Islamic Committee for Women and Child. You say, okay, well,
sounds harmless enough.
Sure, until you start looking at the Arabic. And the entire setting and the entire declarations they have, everything that they write in the Arabic language is approved by leaders in the Muslim Brotherhood. In other words, their charter is drawn by who? Top leaders in the Muslim Brotherhood. I name them, I give their testimonies, I give the evidence of who they are. These are the construct of the organization her mother runs. But you think women and child, that sounds something social. But most Americans don't understand. If they look at the charter itself, and you look at the activism of the Muslim Sisterhood, which is the women's group in the Muslim Brotherhood, which this organization is all about, it is trying to stop the implementation of Western laws, United Nations laws regarding child marriage. Huma Abedin's mother is one of the spearheads in the Muslim world fighting Western laws to prohibit child marriage. She wants girls to be married at very young age, you know. How about female circumcision? She's one of the leaders who's fighting.
She's advocating that?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's incredible.
Absolutely. Spousal beating, you name it.
Right. Wow.
So how could this woman be so fundamentalist Muslim, her daughter marrying Anthony Weiner, and there's still a relationship between her and her mother? That's a cause for alarm, and from a Middle Eastern mindset, it's inconceivable. But as Westerners trying to be tolerant and open-minded and non-judgmental, we look at it from our perspective and we say, well, of course, if my daughter were doing something completely different than me, I wouldn't reject her. So, of course, her mother wouldn't do that either. And so we're imposing our Western values into the situation, is what you're saying. But what most Westerners don't understand, that if the family accepts that marriage, being leaders, Muslim major leaders, that is another phase of a cause of alarm, and that is saying one thing, that there is an exercise of what is called muruna. In Islamic muruna, it's a jurisprudence that says the Muslim is allowed to break all Sharia laws, including marrying a Jew for a girl, because of a major interest that is a cause to help in the cause of advancing the Islamic revolution.
Right. So this is sanctioned because it's going to serve a political greater cause of the Islamic. You know, it's interesting, just to highlight how Huma Abedin is looked at. I did some research, and there's this just spectacular article in Vogue magazine featuring her in beautiful clothes and all of that kind of thing. And the way that they say it is that you can see why the First Lady or former First Lady wanted Huma, and I guess she was actually on Hillary's on her staff when she was First Lady as well. She's fluent in Arabic, a practicing Muslim, born to a Pakistani mother, an Indian father. She moved with her family to Saudi Arabia when she was 2, and there her father, an Islamic scholar, founded an institute devoted to fostering religious understanding. So what was that institute that fostered religious understanding?
That's Americans looking at the whole world as a soap opera, you know, looking at the outside instead of the inside, looking at the sexual scandals instead of the espionage. And that's the stupidity of the West, and it's exactly what it is.
Right.
This is a stupidity in the Western ways of how they see truth and fact.
But didn't President Obama just declare the Muslim Brotherhood, you know, a valid?
Yeah, they're getting sprinkled with holy water. They're being accepted. They're being baptized into Western policies now, and
now that they've basically got the majority in Egypt. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, and so they are a political entity on par with other governmental organizations.
Well, not only that, you need the Suez Canal. You know, you need Saudi oil. You need. That's how American commerce thinks. You know, we could work with the Muslim Brotherhood. So now this is the phase that we're entering in. The problem in the United States, the West, especially the American administration, is they never considered the Muslim Brotherhood as a terror organization.
So it's never been considered that.
Never.
For some reason, I thought.
And the same with the Saudis. The Saudis are the head in one phase, that's the Wahhabist, and you have the Muslim Brotherhood is the other head. Cut those two heads off, you'll have no more terrorism or Islamic revolution at all.
Oh, really?
Exactly. That if you cut those two heads, no more. You never cut the heads. You're dealing with you never dealt with a spigot, and you're dealing with a hose.
Right. Well, if I went to the Muslim Brotherhood's website or the Muslim Brotherhood Sisterhood website in English, would I see something different on that website than if I was looking at it in Arabic?
Of course, you look at the Muslim Brotherhood website in English. What does it say? Freedom. Look at the logo. It says freedom. Look at the Arabic. But if you don't, of course, you don't read Arabic.
Yeah.
I look at the Arabic. It has one word. وَأَعِدُّ. Now, you don't know what that word means. What's وَأَعِدُّ? You didn't even have the letter عين. You know, وَأَعِدُّ, what does that mean? Well, it comes from the Quran. وَأَعِدُّ لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّنْ عِدَّةٍ وَمِنْ رِبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ تُرْهِبُونَ أَعْدَاءَ اللَّهِ وَأَعْدَاءَكُمْ. English. Prepare for them military might so you can terrorize the enemies of Allah and your enemies.
So that's a very different picture of what they stand for.
Correct.
In two different languages.
When it comes to this whole system, you know, it reminds me of the movie The Exorcist. You've seen that movie?
Oh, yeah.
You know, the devil is trying to appear to the priest by pretending that she is his mother, you know. Demi, why you do this to me, Demi? Demi, I'm afraid, you know. He had left her in a convalescent, the old people's home, and then there's another side to her. The Americans are only seeing Demi, why you do this to me, Demi, because every time you kill terrorists, they're complaining, you're killing us, we're poor people, and that's how they're seeing this devil. They got to see it to its true colors. And the only way to see the true colors is by looking at what they say in the Arabic language. This is why I'm an Arab researcher.
Now, what of the media is dubbing Huma Abedin as Hillary's secret weapon. And they have it more right than they realize, right? I mean, what is the consequence of having her in that position for this country?
It's, I mean, it's huge because she has the ear of Hillary Clinton. She's there with her 24/7. She knows all the secrets and the ins and the outs. She's interfering in international foreign policy. She's setting the foreign policy, most likely, you see.
Have you seen any changes, dramatic changes in foreign policy since...
Look at the Middle East.
Yeah. So how would you describe the Arab Spring right now, which is being touted by the news media as this wonderful thing?
Just to prove to you how stupid the West was behaving, I remember getting in Fox News, you know, and I knew there was a split in the screen, you know, there's always a fair and balanced thing.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, don't believe the other guy in the other half of the screen.
Yeah.
He's lying to you. It's not a secular revolution. It's an Islamic takeover. And David Asman was hosting that day, and he was attacking me. I'm the bad guy. I says, you know, love is a long-term investment because love, at first, you see it as ruthlessness, or you see it, but it's going to take you a while to realize that I'm right and I'm telling you the truth and I'm telling you what's best interest for you. And who's going to deny today that the Egyptian revolution was a Muslim Brotherhood takeover, like we said way before?
Yeah, right.
Nobody can deny it.
Right. Now, why would patriots, or people who are supposedly committed to this country, people who are elected officials, sworn to protect this country, not see it for what it is? I mean, they're good and honest people. I mean, why would anybody? What kind of a political mindset?
Now we're discussing the other half of this naive nation.
Right.
Okay. Don't get no offense. I love Americans,
right.
You know, but they're naive. There's two parties. The naive one is the conservative. The liberal is not naive. The liberal likes what they see as far as revolutions in the Middle East because liberals are very socialist and they're revolutionary mindset. Obama's mentor was who? Saul Alinsky. What did he say? He took his hat for the devil. He loves the revolution. Carter, before, was a revolutionary person. When what happened in Iran, it was part of a revolution. When there is revolutions, the liberal says hip hip hooray. And that's the problem. It's the naivety is on the conservative, that they don't see what is cooking. And what is cooking is revolutions galore. You know, conquer Wall Street, what do you call that?
Yeah.
Occupy Wall Street.
Right.
You know, why would it hit right after the Arab Spring in Cairo? Why would there be advisors from the same revolution in Cairo in Washington advising the Wall Street? You know, it was supposed to be a world revolution, and all of them collectively together. Islamists working with liberals. Excuse me, you know, the Nazis worked with the Islamists. You know, in other words, evil finds partnerships. So the Muslims for many years have touted the Big Bang Theory, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And that tickles the ears of the Al Gores. So there is a collaboration.
So they find that they have some similar interests, and so they link up.
Correct.
With one another.
I trace Al Gore's statements about environmentalism with Islam. He writes about Islam and environmentalism. Al Gore.
Oh, really? No, I have never heard that Al Gore wrote about Islam.
I can send you the statements.
Yeah.
I traced his statements from one source. Abdullah Omar Nassif made those statements in the Arabic language and translated them into the English, and he uses them. Abdullah Omar Nassif was Huma Abedin's boss for many, many years in the Institute for Muslim Minority Affairs.
Right. Now, that is an interesting link, that she was actually a leader in that organization, right?
Yes, the Institute. Let me explain something here. The Institute for Muslim Minority Affairs. You think, oh, well, she worked in an organization called the Muslim Minority Affairs, taking care of the minority group of the Muslims that live in Western countries. What's wrong with that, Walid?
Exactly.
You know, the Institute for the Muslim Minority Affairs. First of all, the Muslim Minority Affairs Department is not just an institution. It is a jurisprudence. It's a doctrine that is part and parcel of the Islamic Revolution. And it goes like this. You use the Muslim minorities everywhere in the world to convert the other half of this world that is not Muslim to becoming Muslim through a revolution. In fact, the Institute for Muslim Minority Affairs, the whole idea of Muslim Minority Affairs was established in a Saudi Mein Kampf called the Saudi Manifesto, a conspiratorial manifesto.
When was that?
2002, it was written by King Fahd ibn Abdul Aziz. And it's been brewing for many, many years, many decades. In fact, Huma Abedin's father was one of the sources of 29 sources used to generate the Saudi Manifesto, which is talking about a world Islamic revolution in which the minority Muslims who live in non-Muslim countries, such as the United States, Australia, Canada, are the key to continue a revolution from within the host countries that are not Muslim, to topple those countries eventually.
So it's like the concept of a little bit of yeast in the bread.
Exactly.
And it
The first
grows
goal is do not allow assimilation of the Muslims, because if the Muslims, because they understand that the West has a power of assimilating, okay?
Right.
The West is very good at making everybody, especially the United States. Europe didn't do as good job as the United States when it comes to the issue of assimilation. They put them in different areas, their own neighborhoods, so they remain unassimilated. But the focus is not allowing the Muslims to assimilate. And this is why we have such a problem with Muslims assimilating in Western societies, because those organizations that are instituted in American society, and they even named them, the Islamic Society for North America, the Muslim Student Associations, very top organizations, all the Islamic. Ever wonder why all the Islamic organizations in America work very hard on not making Muslims assimilate into the society? And that's the first goal. Second, to use these society as unassimilated society in a collective fashion. Collectivism is the talk of the Muslim minority affairs agenda.
What define collectivism?
Well, collectivism is like when you have Nazism and communism. If you can collectively have the whole group with one mindset, one party line or the coffin, okay, you have a group that is easily geared and easily controlled and easily directed, versus a Western mindset where everybody has their own individual views.
Right.
So you can't have individualism. So this is why, if you look at the Arabic language, you know, somebody voices a view about a terrorist who was caught in the United States, you know, and he says, you know, he should go to jail. You assimilated. And this is the modus operandi of the attacks of Muslims against each other. You're assimilating. That's a taboo to assimilate. In fact, what I'm doing here is viewed as not only assimilating, but also collaborating with an enemy.
Right.
You see?
And so and that's why you have to be careful in terms of your own security, right? There could be.
I don't even go there.
Yeah, right.
That's a discussion. I don't even discuss it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. We look at the whole saber rattling with Iran and Israel. What's going on there?
Saber rattling. I've been saying saber rattling for many years, and in fact, I won all gentlemen's bet when it came to Iran. And what, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, they've been saying Israel's going to attack next month, next year, next month, next year. I said, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. So far, I've been right. You know, will Israel attack Iran's facilities? It's possible that they will do strategic attacks, but to have a major invasion in Iran, I don't think so. Iran, I believe, will get its nuke. You know?
You think so?
Yes, I think so. Iran will use its nuke not on Israel. Will use it on Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is really the head of the snake here. But the Almighty somehow works in a different way than we think. So, in fact, if you look even at the Bible itself, in Isaiah 21, it discusses the destruction of Arabia. How many American Christians read their Bibles? It talks about Iran destroying Arabia in the end times. And in fact, the usage in Isaiah 21, where God says, Babylon is fallen, double fallens there, right alongside with the same usage in Revelation 14 and Revelation 18. Babylon is fallen, you know? And there in Isaiah 21, God is allowing the destruction of Arabia by Elam. Elam is Iran, Persia. So it needs a nuke to destroy Saudi Arabia. Now this is being recorded. What's to do this year? We are in 2012, right?
Right.
Okay, when this happens, you'll play it.
We'll replay it. We'll have the clip.
Whatever year it is,
Right.
2024, 2027, I don't know. But we'll play it and you'll see that Iran will destroy Saudi Arabia. Will nuke it, in fact. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, didn't Iran threaten to attack Saudi Arabia because of its interference in the Syrian situation?
Right, yeah. Yeah, I recall that. Now, we're again running short on time. Would you say that Christians and Muslims are morally equivalent and that we should look at people who have those religious beliefs
That's
morally equivalent?
That's Western thinking,
Yeah.
that Muslims and Christians are equivalent. This is false. Myth number one, Christians are conservative. Islam is not conservative. That's not true. Conservative Christian doesn't believe that believes life begins at the moment of conception. Islam doesn't believe life begins at the moment of conception. In fact, if you want to take it to the street, look at every pro-Palestine demonstration. Look at every pro-Israel demonstration. Who do you find? You find Jews with fundamentalist Christians. Look at pro-Palestine demonstrations. Who do you find? Lesbians, homosexuals. You will find socialists, communists, radicals, Muslim fundamentalists.
Right.
What are they doing together? In other words, you always know a movement by its friends. Okay? So if the Islamists collaborated with the Nazis, that should tell us something about Islamism. It's not conservative. You think, well, you know, come on, Walid, Islam is conservative.
Yeah, they say no drinking, no pornography, and there's adultery.
I mean,
that's what they say.
How many Americans looked at the sanctioning of misyar marriage? How many Americans even know what misyar marriage is? It's a sanctioned marriage by the Saudi government and the Egyptian religious department. With misyar marriage, go to misyar online.com or something like that. Just look up misyar, M-I-S-Y-A-R, and look up my name and you'll see the research. You know, you can get married as a Muslim with a hijab female with someone at his hotel.
I see.
Okay?
Marriage.
And as long as there is a document that says marriage for half hour or a day or whatever. Now, Sunnis pick on the Shia because they have what is called pleasure marriage. Everyone knows about pleasure marriage when it comes to the Shia, which is really a prostitution. The Sunnis have it too. It's called misyar marriage. The traveler's marriage. If you're internet savvy, while you're traveling, you could use that from your hotel room. Think about this.
Yeah. So these are sanctioned ways of getting around.
Yeah, and you have misyar marriage in the United States too. You can get it from the US, everywhere in the world. A rich Saudi, a rich Muslim can get misyar marriage online. See, that's the difference between the West and the Islamic world. The West calls a spade a spade. It's prostitution.
Yeah.
The Muslim world says, no, it's temporary marriage.
Yeah, right. Well, it's been a pleasure, again, speaking with you and seeing you and learning about some of the latest research that you've been doing. Thank you so much for being with us.
You bet.
Yeah. So we can see that there really isn't a moral equivalency between the Muslim religion and Christianity. And we have to have the courage to understand it and to speak out the truth in love. So what do you think about this whole situation? Would you please join in on the conversation on our social media sites? Thank you so much for watching.